right. Here we are at the Sacred Healers podcast and the Sacred Healers Collective. Just getting everything sorted here right now as we get started. So great to see you all here today and to be here with you as we get started talking today about embodiment. And this is actually a really long practice that needs to happen over time. But hi, Carol, thank you for joining. It's great to have you here. And I'm just getting settled in as we get started here, just adding a couple more requests into the group and making sure all the technology is working. So I know we hear a lot in spiritual communities and really all over the place right now about embodiment. And it's quite a big topic. And actually, I have found it for myself to be a practice that needs to be done over time, like over a long period of time. So what does that mean if we're in that position where we're trying to obtain a practice of something that needs to be done for a long time, and we may or may not even know what that thing is? So today I just wanted to begin to break this down and to begin to have this conversation of how do we embody a practice? How do we use embodiment as a form of healing, as a form of stepping forward into empowerment, into balance, into our lives in a healthy and balanced way? So for me, embodiment is actually about getting back into our bodies. It's about residing within our body. It seems like that should be an obvious thing, but the truth is, if you have ever experienced sexual, physical, or emotional abuse, you may not want to be in your body. You may not have practice being in your body. So when we experience those different types of abuse, of trauma that happen to our body and to our body systems, to our energy, to our, hi Kathleen, welcome, glad you're all here. Thank you so much for coming today, everyone. When we experience these types of abuse and trauma on our different energy systems and physically upon our body, then we disassociate. And so this means that we will not want to be within the place where in which the trauma happened. And if it's our own body, then what are we supposed to do? What should we do if we're supposed to be in our body in order to be healthy? We're supposed to be in our body. We're supposed to know what it's like to be in our body, to feel how our feelings feel while we're in our body, to feel how it feels when we're connecting with people physically in our body, to feel what our pain feels like when we're in our body. But we've had trauma, we've had back pain, or we've had sexual abuse, or we've had emotional abuse. And when we come into our body, we remember it. Because the body holds memories. It holds these memories for us of things that have occurred while we're in it. And that's the deal with the physical plane. And the body is part of the physical plane, of course, because it's the old flesh sack, right? This is our physical manifestation of our spirit, our divine essence here on the earth in this lifetime. And so when something happens to our body, it remembers because the physical holds that memory inside of it. So when we attempt now, in some attempt at spirituality or some attempt at healing, to come back into our body, it's painful and we remember it. And we then are forced to sort through it to some extent, right? And this alone can feel like a very big and daunting task. So I know as an acupuncturist, I would work with people all the time and I would ask them, what is your pain level? Where do you feel your pain? How does it feel? What type of quality does the pain have? Is it dull? Is it sharp? Is it shooting? You know, all these different questions about pain. And it was very rare that I had people who were able to answer me accurately about their own pain during those conversations. Because when we have pain in some place, we then disassociate or leave, right? And if you are neurodivergent, if you are intuitive, if you're working in channeling realms, then often you're going to be outside of your body to some extent a lot of the time. And so these things compound on top of each other. Not only have we had different scenarios that have happened in our body, whether we've had sexual abuse, whether we've had physical trauma or physical abuse, whether we've had even emotional abuse, causes us to then leave our body because we have those remembrances inside of our body. We remember them when we're here, but also we're intuitive. And so we're out searching the dimensions, we're traveling the realms on a continual basis in order to be able to do the work that we believe that we're here to do. What I believe, and something that I speak on frequently, which all of you probably have heard at some time, is that I believe that we are here to firmly anchor these intuitive and magical realms into the physical. And that is how we truly become the channel, right, between heaven and earth, because the physical body is of the earth. And in order for us to truly appropriately and powerfully interpret the information coming down to us, it has to come through our body. We cannot actually connect with the people that we're here to serve and help and support if we are not firmly anchored within our body. So what do? We have pain, we have trauma, we have all these life situations that have occurred to us that have caused us to do things like disassociate, substance use, all these other things, right? To escape having to remember the trauma that happens to us or the pain that we feel when we're in our body. And yet we know that in order to do the work that we're here to do, we have to connect with these other realms. We have to connect with the physical and the intuitive in order to do the work that we're supposed to do. And how do we get from A to Z? So there's a bunch of steps in between, of course, and it's different for every person. So I want you to know that right now, that my journey of embodiment, there's one, no way for me to explain it all in a half-hour training. And two, no chance that your journey to embodiment is going to be exactly the same as mine, because we've all endured different life scenarios in this life and in others. And so we all have different ways that our embodiment needs to happen, because we have different pains in our body, different discomfort, different reasons that we may be disassociating or leaving. And personally for me, I know some of you know my story, but I have had plenty of trauma that's happened to my body in different ways, you know, and I never understood how disassociated I was, but because I was an empath and an intuitive working in magical realms, I often was naturally disassociating even as a child, honestly. And I would leave my body, just like be out in the ethers, daydreaming, doing all this stuff, and not understanding that it has an effect on your body when you're leaving like that continually. And then in the last probably 5 years is when I really started beginning these different practices for embodiment. And I do believe that it's a practice that's learned over time. And of course, it ushered through me a huge amount of trauma clearing that I needed to work through. And so I just want to preface this with that. When we begin to re-embody and work on embodiment, then we may have to do some deep, really deep and intense clearing work so that we can keep walking through why we were leaving our body in the first place and be able to feel comfortable here at home inside our bodies. And I see this a lot with my students, with my clients, with my patients that I had, that when we begin to truly walk through the trauma, to truly become comfortable again in our own skin, then things shift with you physically, like the way that you look, your weight can change. Obviously your energy is going to change, all these kind of things, because you're not out there all the time or hidden away in some compartment in your mind so that you don't have to feel what's going on in your body, right? I believe that some reason why so many women have a difficult time with embodiment is, one, because a lot of us deal with monthly discomfort through a large part of our adult life, right? With menstrual cramps and things like that, or even childbirth if you've had children, and some amount of that. And then somewhat it has to do with the ongoing trauma of needing to be physically put together all the time when we're in public, when we're doing this, right? That a lot of us have heard these trainings over time about how we need to always look this way, we need to always do this thing, we need to have our body this way, we need to whatever. And at some point it becomes actually just too overwhelming to be able to live in that. And so some part of us is like, no, I'm leaving. I'm not going to be in here for that, right? And now we have all these beautiful practices that are coming into modern day culture on a really regular basis. Things like yoga. And yoga is a beautiful way to begin an embodiment journey. And I know a lot of people who have begun to re-embody themselves through the use and practice of something like yoga. And some people need fast yoga, some slow yoga, or modified yoga, depending on pain levels in your body. But I definitely highly recommend something like yoga if you're looking to re-embody and have a practice that you're doing regularly. Sometimes we can't even get to that point where we're able to go to a yoga class, either due to pain that we have in our body or some other reason. So a very simple practice that we can begin with to start coming back into our body is something that I actually do a lot on these trainings, and it's because it's so powerful and simple, right? Actually touching your body in a pleasurable way can feel really, really good towards working to embodiment. Okay. So for me, I'll touch my heart. I'll put both my hands over my heart and feel the pressure of my hand on my own heart and take a deep breath. So just try it with me. If you want, you can close your eyes. It may bring you deeper into your body, or it may bring you further out of your body. So you know that you're disassociating if you can't feel what your body feels like right now, or if you have found that you feel very tiny inside your body. Sometimes that's how my disassociation comes through. Like I'll notice when my kids are touching me a lot throughout the day and I'm feeling overwhelmed or overstimulated, I will sometimes tend towards disassociation, and I'll make myself really, really tiny, like as if I'm shrinking up inside myself, just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, going deeper and deeper and deeper in. So then it doesn't matter. I'm senseless, sensitiveless, or sensitivityless, whatever. And I can't even tell that there's people touching me. I can't tell because I'm so tiny inside myself. And I started noticing that I do this. I have done this with my partners. I've done this with my family members. I've done this with people in general that are attempting to connect with me, and I allow them to connect with me even when I feel overstimulated and oversensitized. And that was not me honoring my body's boundaries, or my energetic boundaries, or my emotional boundaries, right? And once I realized it, I couldn't unrealize it. Like, I should not be shrinking myself so small inside my own body that I can't even feel it when people are touching me, right? So if you're noticing something like that is happening for you, that is one way of disassociating. Some people disassociate and they imagine that they are actually above their body or outside of it. And so that means that they're not even within their body. So who cares what happens to their body? You can do whatever to that body because they're not even inside the body, right? And so this is really serious stuff. It's very, very deeply serious stuff. And I have seen many women, men as well, but I'm just speaking to women at this moment because I am one. And many women who live this way for years of their life. And there's many reasons for it. And that is for a deeper conversation in another container probably. But I believe that it's time for us to come back into our bodies and to reclaim them as ours. And that's the beginning, the true beginning of embodiment, is to decide that this is your body, the body that is housing your spirit during your waking hours in this day, in this life, right now. And it's yours. So taking a moment and rubbing your arms, rubbing your legs, right? Rubbing your shoulders. You might notice that you have a lot of really tight energy in the tops of your shoulders from, taking on the world unnecessarily. These are very simple ways to begin. And I actually think that having a practice of daily self-touch can be extremely, extremely powerful on the path to embodiment. It's a very simple practice, but please consider when's the last time that you literally gave yourself a hug, that you rubbed your own arms, that you rubbed your legs, maybe even with massage oil or essential oils, that you literally felt your body all over, just feeling your whole body, feeling your feet, feeling your back, just literally touching your actual body, rubbing your abdomen, doing circular motions on your abdomen. I usually go in a clockwise direction to begin with, but you can try it in different ways and see what feels good around your belly button. And just maybe doing some deep pressure and noticing where there's sensitivity, where there is tenderness. If you can't feel anything, that's okay, because over time your sensitivity will build. It will. I rub my neck and my head, right? Rubbing your face, gently massaging yourself. Like I said, in a pleasurable way. If it's painful, please just move to another location or go slower or more gentle, and allow yourself to just be doing this in a way that feels good to you, but also you're stimulating the touch sensitivity on your hands, on your skin, on your whole body. This is an activation. And if you need to, every few seconds, come back to your heart and take a deep breath. And allow anything that has been stirred up while you're doing this practice to be breathed out of your body, to be released on your breath, so that you do not have to keep holding it inside of you, okay? This is a really important thing for us, for our mental health, for our physical health, for our emotional health, and for our energetic health, to be able to learn embodiment, right? And when we can begin to do these self-touch practices and learn what it feels like to honor our body. So this is as you're rubbing your arm, saying, thank you, arm. Thank you for all that you helped me lift up, for helping me to hold all that we hold, carrying all those bags, moving all those kids. Thank you, arms. Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing for me every day, right? Thank you, neck. Thank you, neck, for holding up my head and my brain, for pumping so much blood through me. Make it your own, however you feel, to say thank you to your body as you are touching it, as you're rubbing it. It's a really beautiful practice, and it's something that we can do every day when we're learning to come back into our body. So if you have trauma of some kind, sexual, physical trauma, then you may need to do this in short sessions as you just get started. And you may need to make sure that you're in a very safe place before you begin so that you don't feel afraid while you're doing it, because the idea is to get back into your body in a safe way so that you can learn to build trust with your body over time. Building trust by being inside of your body, within your own heart, in your body over time. And the more that you practice it, the easier it will become and the longer you'll be able to do it for. So if you're someone who has had physical pain for a long time, it may feel difficult to be in your body sometimes because it's painful. And also by leaving the body, we're not able to know what needs to be fixed or shifted or adjusted when we're having that. And if it is painful to be in your body, just go slow as you're coming back in. Okay. So we can do practices like go to yoga classes and do the breathing and the moving, and that will help. But also just doing these gentle touching exercises. I know you're thinking to yourself right now, this is silly. It's too easy. There's no way that this works. I'm here to tell you, this freaking works. It totally works. And it's a practice that is built up over time. Just like when you start going to the gym and working out, you're not lifting 50-pound weights. You're lifting 10-pound weights or whatever it is, and then over time you build it up and you build it up and you build it up. And if you want to be in your body when you are doing your sacred work, you have to develop a very fluid relationship with your body over time. And that's all that we can do, but it takes practice, it takes time. So what are some other easy embodiment exercises that we can do? And please feel free to leave any in the comments. If you have some beautiful embodiment exercises that are easy and simple that you feel could be shared with many people, please leave them in the comments. I'd love to see more suggestions and ideas. Of course, like I said, this is only the tip of the iceberg in this. But I think you may notice that sometimes when I'm channeling, when I'm doing healing, or when I'm in ceremony and I'm calling quarters or connecting with the goddess, with whatever light language channeling, that you'll see sometimes I'm doing this, right? This gentle rocking. And it's kind of like a pivoting, like with my pelvis as the center, and I'm just like rocking around and around and around, and it is purposeful, although on occasion I will just like end up going into it, but it is a way for me to maintain embodiment and remain in my body while I'm doing my sacred work, as opposed to disassociating or going up and out for long periods of time. So that may be something to just try and begin with too, is literally just sitting with your legs crossed in front of you, and or like I have them on the side, but I'm in I'm on my little back jack chair and then just rocking, right? And so we can think of the first and second chakras as these pivotal roots, right? They call it the root chakra and the base chakra, this kind of thing, because that is the root where we are connected to the earth. That chakra touches the earth, the first chakra. And the first and the crown chakra touches the sky, right? So those are the access points to these other realms. And we can use the energy of those chakras as well to help us connect into the more earthly realm or the celestial realm. So another embodiment technique that you can do is actually just touching your in between your first and second chakra, putting a little pressure there, just allowing your hand to rest there, to your chakras of creation, or your womb chakra, or whatever you want to call it. But these areas, and breathing into that space and feeling that breath pull all the way down to that area right below our belly button, Feeling big breaths and allowing our breath to fill all the way down in there. If you want to envision a dark red or deep orange color, that may be powerful as well to help you visualize what you're doing. But allowing your hands to rub your lower abdomen, to really connect in with this energy of the root, right? The bowl of creation. This is where life is made, but only if we can be within our body long enough to spark that seed of creation. It doesn't have to be an actual human baby in some way. It can be our intuitive creations, our inspirational, our business creations, but this is where creation happens. The energy of creation, because it is so much in the earth, that the earth creates everything we have, literally. All of the roofs over our heads are because of the earth. All of the air that we breathe is because of the earth. All of the food that we eat is because of the earth. And the earth creates new life all the time. So we can think about the energy of creation, the energy of the earth, and tap into that, right? As the beginning part of this practice of touching our body in order to come back in. So we're connecting with our low abdomen. We're connecting with our heart space. We're using deep breathing each time throughout the whole practice, every day that you do this. We can add in a grounding practice where we envision that a root is growing from the bottom of our feet or the bottom of our sacrum all the way down into the earth, deep, 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 deep. And then even deeper than that, and then even deeper than that, that we are really down in the earth and feel that energy connecting with the earth's orange energy in the center. And allow that golden orange energy to come up through the root into our lower abdomen, into our heart, breathing again very deeply, allowing us to feel pulled down into our body. And then taking a pause. Instead of talking more, thinking more, doing more, pause here. Feel what it feels like to wait while you are in your body. We don't always have to do more. We don't always have to think about it. It can feel uncomfortable when we are first re-entering our body, and that is okay. That is so valid and it's important. But take the time to feel what it does feel like for you. Maybe it feels peaceful. Maybe it feels open. Just breathing again and allow yourself to feel. What does it feel like if my consciousness drops down? Not up here, not in here, not even just in my heart, but my consciousness drops all the way down to my belly. And just allow yourself a moment for that. Allow yourself some time to feel into that. Because we are a very cerebral culture. An overly cerebral culture, in my opinion. It is not to our benefit, although it is basically how we are evolving as a human species, I believe, right? And so this means that it's up to us, if we are not benefited fully by being overly cerebral, then we need to start learning how to drop back into our bodies, into this space deep within ourselves. There is a sacred, sensual wisdom that lies within. And sometimes it's hard to go back in there when we've had trauma. And I want you to remind yourself as you do these practices, if you're feeling afraid, that you are safe, that you are safe, and comfort yourself, please. This is part of it, right? We don't learn these things. We don't learn to just comfort ourselves if we're scared, if we're afraid. And sometimes we feel afraid to think about our sexual trauma, to think about our physical trauma, to think about those things that happen that make us not want to be in our body. And it is terrifying, it is scary, and it is sad. It's hard and it's painful. And as we breathe deeply into these practices, you may find that sometimes it feels pleasurable to be in your body. Sometimes there's pleasure that comes from connecting with all the different nerves and sensitivities and muscles, the bones of our body. And just breathe into that, opening your mind and your energy to the opportunity and the possibility that it may be pleasurable as well when you drop into this. So, a lot of information, and this is just the beginning. We're going to keep dancing into this through many different routes and different experiences. And for today, I just want to leave you with that practice. I guess it's a couple of practices. So one of the practices is actually that self-touch practice, touching your whole body in ways that feel good and reminding yourself that you are safe. Loving your body for all that it does for you. Thank you, heart, for breathing. Thank you, breasts, for feeding my babies. Thank you, shoulders, for carrying all that weight over all those years. Thank you, legs, for walking me around and keeping me safe. Thank you, right? For all of the different things that our bodies do. And thank you, eyes, for helping me to see, right? We can just touch those and connect with it. Thank you, ears, for helping me to listen, to hear the wisdom that's being shared with me every day by these amazing, beautiful souls I've connected with, right? Honoring our body and connecting with it slowly, intentionally, diligently, and lovingly. So when you look at yourself and you're doing this practice, you're touching yourself and you're like, oh, cellulite, I hate you. That is not the practice, okay? I would encourage you to say, I see that I feel insecure in this moment, and also thank you anyway, legs, for all the power that you hold in them, or whatever. Make up words that work for you, but I encourage you to try and use positive words as you're doing this self-touch practice, if you choose to try it, as we want to be reframing all of that old programming, all those old tapes, into something that is more positive and self-esteem building, rather than that's going to tear you down. Okay, so that's practice number one, is touching our body and connecting with it and thanking it. Okay, and practice number two is about connecting with our first and second chakra space and allowing our consciousness to drop down into our belly while we ground deep into the earth. So we're going deep into our body on purpose and envisioning that our energy is coming fully down from all the brain stuff, all the ethereal spaces, right? We're going to go back in there because we always do, because we love it there too. But today, and when you do this practice for those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is for you, dropping all of your energy down into your lower abdomen. And feeling there, what does it feel like to be in your body? While you're breathing deeply and gently moving to your heart when you're ready, allowing yourself to feel your hand on your heart, your hand on your lower abdomen, And pausing, just gently pausing, intentionally connecting with these areas while we drop consciousness from up here. And you can tell, like, even during this whole thing, I've been dropping and dropping and dropping, and it slows me down in what I think is probably a good way. So I tend to be real fast and going. But when I take this moment to just be like, here, and pulls my energy, and it's good for me to always practice this every day. So, and then I guess the third practice is beginning to notice when you are disassociating, just taking notice of it. You don't even have to do anything in that moment, but just taking a notice. Are you making yourself very small inside your body so that you are like allowing your body to go on with stuff like workouts that are too hard for you, or experiencing situations that are over exhausting you or over touching you or something like that? Or noticing if you are stepping out of your body and kind of witnessing yourself from the outside in. And that's the beginning process of going back into your body, because the more frequently you notice that you're disassociating or stepping out of your body, the more you're going to be able to come back into it and embody it, right? So until we learn some of these embodiment techniques, we're not going to be able to embody the energies that we want to embody, right? Whatever those are for you, or the feelings that we want to embody. We're not going to be able to fully embody practices that we want to embody if we cannot even be inside of our body in a way that feels safe, comfortable, and rooted. Okay, so this is the first step, and we're doing it. It's happening now, and we'll keep talking about other things. And you're going to hear me say things like, oh, to embody that practice, right? Whatever the practice is it the Munaki? Is it a Reiki practice? Is it whatever those things are that we embody practices? Pardon me. But we're not going to be able to embody those practices if we're not safe in our own body. So thank you all so much. Thank you for being here. And I really look forward to continuing this conversation on embodiment, either in comments on the chat or wherever you feel comfortable. But let's keep talking about this. Share your practices of embodiment if you have some easy ones that you feel comfortable sharing. And let's keep talking about different ways we can do this. This is one of the ways that we can truly begin to really heal physical, sexual, and emotional trauma. And it's so powerful, but it can feel scary. It can feel challenging, and just allowing yourself that spaciousness to just walk through it at a pace that feels comfortable to you so that you feel safe and loved. And I love you, and thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.